All right, spoilers for Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, the new Zack Snyder film, Part 2 of Rebel Moon, which we talked about in December. Go back and listen to our review of that.
Yes, go back. And Holden, can I just get into it? Can I go?
Okay, let me say before you start
unleash me. Let me at
this is one of the worst big budget movies I've ever seen. Maybe the worst big budget movie I've ever seen. So we were talking about it last week on the podcast about whether or not this is going to be worse than Madam Web. I think this is worse than Madam Web.
Might be.
At the very least, it is not as entertaining as Madam Web. Madam Web is very funny. And yeah, this movie is doo-doo, really bad. Worse than the first one, although I think the first one, I gave the first one a 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10.
It was your least favorite movie last year.
Yeah. Okay. And this is going to be my least favorite movie. I can't imagine there's going to be a worse movie than this that I see this year, quite frankly.
Okay. Well, before I go in, I thought part 1 was uninspired but fine and like watchable, and I didn't hate it. And I talked about like the emotional core of it, which again, briefly, just like how this Princess Issa character seemed to me like Zack Snyder's daughter, who he lost to suicide. And I thought that was like a nice emotional core. I also have a soft spot for it because it's like, this was like his passion project that he'd been dreaming about for decades. So it's like, I have those ideas and dreams in my head. That's like, oh, if I was in Zack Snyder's position, I made this, and and then people just crapped on it. I had a soft spot for that, for those kind of two elements of it. This movie is just horrible. I mean, it is
1 out of 10.
And the other thing that I always like to say is that before we just kind of rip apart this movie, again, Zack Snyder, he made a film, and I think that is, again, incredibly difficult to do. Even to make a bad movie, I think you have to be very talented. And so like, and all the other people who put work into this. And I just think that before we get in, like, he did something that I have not done and almost certainly will not do in my life. So credit to Zack Snyder. I still respect the guy as a director. I think he's got a lot of potential if he can just not write his own movies.
Credit to the man for wasting a blank check from Netflix.
But, yeah, with that, I do like Zack Snyder's other movies. I like 300 quite a bit. And what else do I think? I just think a lot of his movies are a lot better than people give him credit.
His
for.
cut of Justice League is fine.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead is probably my favorite of the ones he's done, and that's his first. And he also did not write it. So that was a James Gunn joint.
A James Gunn joint, huh?
Yeah.
All right, now can I go?
Yeah. Sure.
I think the biggest problem for me in this movie, particularly the first half of this movie, is just there is no sense of urgency. For a movie that is like immediately establishes, okay, there is a huge sense of urgency. Nobody is in a hurry to do anything. No. And it is so distracting. They're like, oh no. Okay, first off, before we even dive into this whole, like, I have like 10 sub notes for that part.
For that one part.
But before that, there is no function to Admiral Noble dying at the end of the first movie. No. Not a single one.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Just immediately comes back to life.
Well, yeah, okay. That's a good point, too, because it doesn't even function to, like, it's not even, because the movie started and you had, I can't believe I remember his name, Titus, Jimon Hansu's character, come in and he's like, oh, Noble's dead. Like,
they're
to
all
the villagers, they're all happy. And so initially in my head, I'm like, okay, so are they like, do they think the threat's gone? Is that going to like bite them in the butt?
Yeah,
or
the
whatever?
Dreadnought's not coming back. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And then that one guy who whatever his name is, who knows? Way too many characters. Guys? No, it's the defected soldier guy from the first movie.
Yeah.
Don't remember anything about him.
I completely forgot he talked to that.
And he's like, nope, you're wrong. He's actually alive and they're coming back. Or he doesn't maybe know they're alive, but he's like, he doesn't know Admiral Noble's. He's like, but they're coming.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah, so it doesn't even serve the purpose of like throwing our main characters off guard, because sure, they don't know he's alive specifically, but they still have to prep for this like invasion. And really, there's no difference there.
But okay, well, no, hold on. I take it back, because how else would he get his scar?
Yeah, we wouldn't know who the Scargiver is.
That's the only reason she's a Scargiver, right?
I think so. I don't think they call her the Scargiver in the first movie, do they?
I don't remember, but see, I feel bad if I'm making fun of it and I'm wrong, but
who cares? it's not like it's not going to be much better. Literally, the name is Scargiver, so at best, the most charitable is that she killed someone, and they're like, oh, Scargiver, or hurt someone, Scargiver. It's a dumb name, regardless.
It's really bad. It's really bad, especially if the scar that she gives Admiral Noble is the reason she's called the Scargiver. Which, again, I haven't gone back to revisit that first one, and also it's like on his chest. Mm-hmm. Put it on his face.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm gonna go take her to the Senate, and I'm just gonna
have him look like the Joker.
I'm gonna take my shirt off, I guess.
Yeah.
And then show them the Scargiver. I'm like, no one. Okay, first off, no one else is calling her that.
No.
You are calling her that. Nobody knows who you're talking about.
He's like, say it. It's literally only him. He's just like, we have the Scargiver in our sights or something. Like,
I don't think anybody else in the movie says Scargiver.
No, I don't think so.
It's bad. It's really bad. Okay, back to the no sense of urgency. They're like. So they're, oh my gosh, we need to get the harvest ready in 5 days. Immediately, all the farmers, the villagers are like, oh, it's impossible. We cannot do that. Oh my gosh. So you are asking the impossible of this. Yeah. There is just zero way this could ever
so much grain.
Happen. There's just way too much grain. I was like, are they going to have to like invent something to grow the grain? Oh no, the grain has just already been grown, apparently.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So
how long have they been gone? How long have our main characters been gone?
I don't know,
because
that part doesn't. I don't even like. Yeah, good point. But who knows? They'd probably say it somewhere.
Probably,
hopefully,
maybe
give him the benefit of the doubt. Holden. Oh, it's been 2 months since you've been gone. Anyway, the grain's all been grown, and then they're like, oh. We can't harvest it in 5 days. That's just going to be impossible. So, okay, I guess they don't.
And then Titus is like, yeah, you can.
He's like, yes, you can. Oh, as a general and a gladiator, yes, you can. I just know better than you about farming on your own planet.
And then they do it.
Why don't you just use these space horses that literally just have a weird face, and that's the only thing unique about them? And you call them Urukai, like horses,
and yeah,
which is a word from Lord of the Rings.
Do they call them Urukai?
It's like Uraki. It's literally spelled like Uraki. I'm like, wow. I didn't remember that. So harvest the grain somehow in 5 days. Okay. Oh my gosh, we cannot do this. You know what? How about let's just go to bed tonight and just start tomorrow morning?
Yeah, we'll just do it first thing.
And then they're like banging the thing, wake up, you gotta work, we gotta if you were actually in a life or death situation, would you really need to do that? Would you really need to hype people up?
No.
Oh my gosh, hey, you know that one guy that just murdered the person who was in charge of our village and threatened our lives? Yeah, he's coming back. It's not like they like haven't seen the threat or anything. They know what the threat is. There's no sense of urgency. The kids do jack squat. They do
they're
nothing.
Just hanging out.
They just are playing in the fields. Put those kids to work.
Yeah.
Child labor. Let's go.
Okay in this situation.
Lightsaber sword lady just sleeps the whole time. What is she doing?
And then there's the kid who just likes her for no reason. There's literally no reason. She's just this silent whatever, like kind of a grump in some ways. And there's this kid who like imprints on her for some reason.
What is even her name? I could not tell you. Nemesis.
I wrote down a couple of the characters. I did have I wrote down notes about them, and so I did have their names down. So I do know it's Nemesis. She's one of the worst characters, quite frankly.
Okay, I like the idea of the arm thing, but it's nothing. It's just nothing. There's no substance.
Yeah, jumping ahead a little bit, she cuts off her arms for some reason, gives herself robot arms that are powered by the blood of her ancestors that teach her how to fight.
I didn't even remember that part.
Yeah, something like that. I'm like, okay. So weird. And then she has lightsabers that are
Zack Snyder's
functionless.
like, okay, well, how do I have lightsabers without lightsabers?
We're gonna have the good guys have red lightsabers and the bad guys have blue lightsabers.
That is
clever.
original.
That's
That is
clever.
original. Okay, this is the part that just gets me. Apparently, they could just do the harvest in 5 days with relative ease.
Yeah, it didn't seem that
which
difficult.
begs the question: why don't they always just do that?
Yeah.
Why would you have something that takes weeks upon weeks if you just all work together?
Work hard for 5 days,
and then you
get
could
it
just
done.
take off the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You're farmers. Like, it's not like, oh, you're salaried. You're like,
Yeah.
why would you not do that?
I did want to mention there's so okay. This movie has the most slow-mo of any
my
Zack
gosh.
Snyder
Oh
movie
my
I've ever seen in my
gosh.
life. It's like a parody of itself. And the farming, part of the reason why the farming scenes take so long is because it's all in slow-mo.
Nothing like slow-mo farming.
Yeah, my dad was texting me some stuff during this, and I made a note of it here too. But when Jimon Hansu is like filling up the water bottle,
my
and
gosh.
it's in slow mo for some reason, it takes like a full 30 seconds at least to get through that one action. For some reason.
Well, because later on, Holden, they're like, "What's in there?" And they're like, "Water."
Oh yeah, true. Oh, that like you don't even need that because like you could just have the reveal, like just have Cora reveal that to people. It's fine, whatever. Who cares? It's not important. You don't need 30 seconds of slow mo him filling up water.
No, I don't know, Holden. That was pretty cool.
That's foreshadowing right there.
It really demonstrates the urgency.
Yeah.
Somehow they find time to train as well, and not just train. They build like these straw dummies, and they just obliterate them right away.
Dozens of them at least.
Like, who's working on these?
And the training montages are so bad because it feels like those straw people are just like 5 feet in front of them. Like they're just pointing a gun at this thing like, oh, I'm not sure I can hit it. And
I wonder if I can hit it with this blunderbuss from 3 feet away.
Yeah. And I'm sure the intention was for them to be farther away, but it was not conveyed that way with how it was filmed at all.
Let's sit down and have a big feast, Holden. And this is the worst part of this whole freaking movie right here. And I'm not even to the two worst parts of this movie right here. All right. First off, you have farm girl. That's what I'm just called. Farm girl. Main farm girl.
Yeah, that's all she is. Farm girl.
She knits them or sews them all
Like
these banners.
blanket banner things.
When did she do that? And how does she know these people at all?
Yeah, like, okay,
by the definition, it has been less than 5 days. She does not know these people. She knows Gunner, and I guess she knows Cora. She doesn't know anybody else. And yet I'm going to like sew these banners, which heaven knows how long it took to do those.
They look pretty
what day
ornate.
did she start doing that?
Yeah.
And then she's got a whole reason why. And one is she's like, Titus, you looked strong. So okay, maybe he looked strong and he represented like a mountain or whatever it was. But when did this happen? Why isn't she farming? Like this is a life or death situation and she's just sewing these banners for these people she doesn't know at all, but for some reason has this huge depth of knowledge and is a lifelong friend with them all of a sudden.
Well, here's the thing. Not only would the character not reasonably know anything about these people, but we literally know nothing about these people. So you don't even like in a better, more well-constructed in narrative or whatever, you could at least make the argument like, okay, it doesn't make sense that she knows these things, but we're recognizing these character traits about these people, whatever, it's fine. But we literally she's saying things that we have not seen at all, and we don't see throughout this movie. This is not anything we know about these people. Yeah, Titus, they say something like, oh, he's like unmoving, like a mountain or something, and for Nemesis, they say something about that she's very kind or quiet, and we don't see this, we don't know anything about these. You have the really ripped guy who was a slave in the last movie who
That guy is very ripped.
yeah,
My word.
maybe one of the most ripped people I've ever seen
Seriously.
in my life. But is
A very good looking man. Like he's like a Zack Snyder dream
definition
man.
of washboard abs.
Yes.
Right but maybe one of the worst characters in this. I keep saying that. I'm going to say that about every character in this because they're all like one of the worst characters in the movie because none of them are good. So yeah, that was a bad scene. I was just thinking that the whole time.
But the worst scene is when they sit around and they're like, Titus is like, well, I'm not one for confessions, but we got to go one by one and tell our backstories.
Let's just go, tell our backstories. And it's very sequential too.
My gosh.
Like there's no them like talking over each other, inquiring anything. There's no bleeding of stories or anything. It's literally you'll just have Titus give a monologue. There's a flashback. The entire flashback is in slow-mo.
Oh my gosh.
And then it goes to the next person who does the same exact thing. And the backstories of these people are like the most cookie cutter backstories you've ever heard of any hero in any. And it's just like you take like one movie, you take that backstory of the hero from that movie, put them on one of the characters here, take another movie, another character. It's generic, incredibly generic.
There's just way too many characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Like either you need to make it a series or you just need to get rid of at least half of these characters because you're not doing any of them justice. I don't know anything about any of these people except what you just tell me, and there's no depth to it. The only good thing I can say about that entire sequence is I thought the one washboard abs guy, his world looked kind of cool. It was like a futuristic steampunk Victorian era.
Yeah, the one shot we get of it on the outside.
Yeah, and his mom like jumps off the thing.
I can't even remember what
balcony.
his deal was. They just got
He was
invaded
like,
and
his dad, you don't become a man until the day your dad dies, and then you're the king. And then there was like that bird griffin thing that he tamed. Kind of was there.
Yeah, I don't know. So much of this movie, I should mention here. This was one of the most boring, painful movie watching experiences I think I've ever had. I watched it yesterday. And I did it in the afternoon, and I came home. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. Started around 2:00. I don't think I got done until like 4:45. Really, it took me at least like an extra 45 minutes to watch this movie because I kept getting up and like doing things and getting distracted. I'm like, it was not gripping me in the slightest. You at least watched it on your elliptical, right? So you were like trapped there.
Yeah, working out.
Yeah.
Working out with nothing to do while these slow motion shots are happening.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Anybody editing a movie should be doing it on a treadmill. Honestly. Edit this movie, do it on a treadmill. You don't need that. Get it out, cut it, go, next.
I do want to say, Cora and Gunnar,
they love each other?
They love each other.
What?
Why? There have been there's never been two actors with less chemistry than these two.
It's like, why do they love each other?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
They're like, oh, they're the main characters. They need to kiss now.
I didn't start taking notes until about 10 minutes in, and the first note I have down was like, I think it was Gunnar said it. It was one of the two. They're interchangeable, whatever. But he's like, it wasn't death that scared me. It was the thought of losing you.
Oh my! I didn't even remember that one.
Yeah. And then after they have presumably slept together, Cora then says, "Remember how I told you?" And then proceeds to exposit tons of info from the first movie that we already knew. That was very funny.
My last piece about the just zero urgency.
Oh yeah,
is she just gives herself a haircut too. Oh, in my opinion, a worse looking haircut.
Well,
too. I thought her hair was cooler before.
Yeah,
and then she just also and then they're taken by surprise when they show up. I was like, what
you have been prepping for this?
They're like, oh crap, we gotta hurry and finish this stuff up. Like you guys seem like you have been fine.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Can we talk about the flashback with the king getting assassinated?
Oh my!
Carrie Elwes, who I forgot who was in this.
Oh, I didn't.
Was that the one?
Can we talk about the makeup and hair, the wigs? It looks so bad that Carrie Elwes. I love him as an actor. The makeup and hairstyling of this movie is horrible.
Yeah,
it is distracting. In that scene in particular. It is distractingly awful.
Mm-hmm.
It is so phony looking and fake. And that whole sequence is so bad. It's like, oh, you know what? The Julius Caesar assassination. Here we go. Here, I'm going to be really subtle about this. The senators are going to be wearing togas, and they're going to take knives out of their togas. Really subtle. What's going on here?
Well,
hey, this isn't right.
I loved the space string quartet
that was with the bags over their head.
Yeah.
I guess is that to make
it was literally just like a string quartet you would find on Earth, but in space.
Yeah, well, they have bags over their heads, so there's space.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, does that mean they're slaves or something, or prisoners? I don't know. I feel like there maybe was some connection there.
They did like the Red Wedding thing where the
That's
music
what I was
changes.
like. The music. I was like, they just did the Red Wedding. I was like, this is Julius Caesar's assassination mixed with the Red Wedding combined, and just made 30 times less interesting than either of those things. It makes zero sense. They just killed him, and then Balastar's is like, well, you obviously have to be the one that shoots the princess for some reason.
Yeah.
And then when you do, we're just going to frame you for all of this?
Yeah, okay.
And you're my adopted daughter?
First off, I want to say his delivery of the line, do it, kill her, is very funny. In general, I think I remember from the first movie too, what little he's in both movies. Not a very good performance, I would say. Kind of funny.
Well, he's the big bad though. You gotta save him.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. But yeah, I also noted down what a dumb plan to frame your highly skilled assassin adopted daughter for the murder of the royal family. Like what's you can do it with
Holden, then it's believable.
I guess. Yeah.
What's her real name? Arthelaus? Arthelaus?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I'll take your word for it. I'm just gonna. Oh, yeah, it is Arthelaus.
Look at that. Look at that pull, Holden. That's why you keep me around.
Yeah.
Horrible scene.
Yeah.
Horrible scene.
Well, horrible one of
wait a second. What's this? What's going on here? I love Carrie.
So
Carrie Elways, just being Carrie Elways, made that scene enjoyable for me.
I wrote down here.
Please don't.
I wrote down here, Admiral Noble. This guy's bad news. He killed one of his own men.
What did
just that generic like bad guy thing where he's so bad.
How's this for your prognostic test or whatever? I did want to say quickly, just before we completely leave that assassination scene, the shot where Princess Issa gets shot and it's the light, that effect looks so bad.
Oh yeah, that looked like a stock After Effects.
They clearly just took like a little light and had it flicker. And I'm like, okay, they at least tried to do some sort of practical tie into it. Mm-hmm. But it is just like the default flare plug-in After Effects.
Oh, it was
just
so
doing this pulsating. I'm like, I could have made that shot. And in 10 minutes. What are we doing? Blank check. Netflix. Incredible.
Yeah. Can we talk about Jeff the Robot?
Jeff the Robot. Holden, how did you forget his name? His name is literally Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't know.
And also call me James, because when you call me Jimmy, I have eternal despair or something. Yeah. It's like, James, when you call me that only gives me some sense of hope.
So for the majority of this movie, he's just standing afar staring at people doing things.
Yeah, what?
He's
and
wearing
he just
horns.
shows up.
He's wearing horns.
He's cool looking. Like the design is cool.
Yeah, but it's also like it's a cool design. I like the horns on his head. That's kind of cool, but why is he wearing the horns?
You know what? He should be the main character of the movie. I honestly think having this like thing that's programmed to serve the like it should be him and one other character, and that should be the movie.
I think because of the missed potential with him, I think he might be the worst character. Like genuinely, I keep saying that he might be the worst character.
I feel like there's at least something there that you could be interested in. Like the other characters, like there's nothing. They're just there to look cool and to fight.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think with him, it's like they like promise something with him that is just never gone into, and I would say like almost like completely ignored. Like because in the first movie, he's in like the first part or whatever at the village, and that's his setup there is kind of interesting, I guess. And then he's done nothing with for the rest of that movie. Mm-hmm. And then up until his scene with Korra in this movie, he has nothing done with still. And then after that scene with Korra, also has nothing to do for the rest of the movie. Like
what did I say at the end? I will join in the fight or something?
Yeah, something like that. Okay, so now he's part of the Rebel Moon.
Go and I will fight.
Yeah, something like that. Because they're going to go find the princess.
Yeah. I will stay and fight. I don't know.
Yeah.
They say something and fight.
I will fight. I will and fight.
I will and fight.
Anyway, yeah, I did not like him. So his I guess jumping ahead of it, we can just cover all
No,
of
Holden, he did something. He gave us a very bad synopsis of what happened in the last movie.
Yeah, you're right. Yes. Yeah, he did the voiceover at the beginning.
He also says
really cringe.
He says Gunnar.
Oh, does he?
He says Gunnar. Yeah, I honestly will pull it up on Netflix right now.
Gunnar.
Netflix. All right, I'm going to pull it up. He says Gunnar, and I was like, what? Really, really bad. So like, first off, the one time you don't like show something happen, you're just zooming in on, they're really not seeing anything. You should have just had some sort of montage there.
See, when that happened, I was thinking of Jodorowsky's Dune, the opening shot.
It was kind of like
but
that.
It was obvious, but way
Clearly
less interesting.
Not. I mean, it's trending #1 movie in the USA, Holden. A bajillion.
I have not seen, aside from my father who watched it the same time I did, I have not seen a single person talk about this movie. And
Well,
I don't know.
It's all right. I'm pulling it up. You know,
This is- did you see it? Gunnar.
All right, here we go.
Play it.
Fell upon their fields.
Here we go.
The ship's commander, Admiral Noble,
Okay, it's
demanded
coming.
more than Velt's people could give.
Here we go.
So it was that a woman named Korra and a man named Gunnar.
Oh, he does say Gunnar.
I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, there we go. Just I would immediately 30 seconds into the movie. Gunnar. Yeah.
Horrible.
Just wild. You know what? I will say the second half of this movie is fine. I think the second half of this movie returns to the first part one, which is fine. I honestly think it's the first half, part two, the third quarter of the whole thing, that is just so mind-bogglingly bad.
Yeah.
That it just cripples the whole thing for me.
I think for me,
the other stuff is just like brainless, uninspired entertainment.
Yeah, okay.
Spectacle.
So I think I hate the second half too. I think I enjoyed the first half more only because I was able to write funny notes about it.
Yeah.
And I was able to think of funny things to say about it. The second half of this movie is
nothing.
horribly
There's nothing.
boring.
There's just nothing.
So boring.
It's just generic fighting.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. Like Zack Snyder, I mean, you always think of him, making some interesting fight scenes or whatever. You have this like concept of, this war happening or this big battle on the planet that's built up over the course of these two movies. And it is the worst fight scene I think Zack Snyder's probably ever directed, I would think, at least out of what I've seen. It just in terms of how boring it is. And it goes on so long.
Here's what I'll say. I think there are some good things in the final battle that's like the second half of the movie ish. It has points. At points, it has like decent geography of like what is happening and what are our objectives. Like a big tank will come out. Okay, we need to take out the big tank. Or we need to blow up the one part of the space station, or I'm going back to the ship to meet Gunnar, or I'm fighting here to protect the women and the children. There's like clear, like defined stakes and an objective, and we see how the objective like will help like overall goal of the battle. Mm-hmm. Whereas something like this was one of my problems when we watched like the Rings of Power, where there's like a fight scene and like it's just people fighting. There's nothing. There's like, we might have named characters in there, but they're gonna have plot armor. It's like, what are we trying to achieve in this battle? People don't just go and just fight. It's like a street fight. It's like if you're in a battle, like people are gonna try to target specific things to give them an edge. And I think this movie does it okay. I mean, it's not Helm's Deep, where it's like something like that, but it does okay at that at times. And I think there are movies that just don't do that at all. So I'll give it some credit there. I I do like the whole sequence of the dreadnought falling out of the sky. Now, it is similar to like Revenge of the Sith with the invisible hand or whatever that. Is that what it's called? The General Grievous's ship coming down. That has elements of that in there as well. I don't know if anybody flies a ship out of that. Well, that part, I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
How did they get back to their ship when they're like falling in the hang? Whatever. I thought that was kind of fun. It gave me some Uncharted like 2 vibes when like the building's falling too. I thought some of that was fun.
I was disappointed Admiral Noble did not have his whacking stick this time.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the whacking stick. He substituted it for a lightsaber.
Yeah, disappointing. Not as cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things I don't like, and I think is just a flaw with the setup, is the village is too small. I think, I think it's too small, and I think you could make if the movie was like better, you can make the argument that it's small, so then you know where things are happening at any given moment. Yeah. But I don't think you can really do that here very easily.
There's like 3 points of interest, or 4.
Yeah.
There's like the field, the bridge, that gong thing, and the longhouse.
I think like having a bigger village would, that are still just made up of simple farmers or whatever, would solve the problem of why does the Imperium or whatever want like the grain from this place, because they could harvest more grain. You could have more people fighting, because like people are dying in this, but it doesn't seem like there are that many villagers. But it just seems like there's an endless stream during the final fight.
Also, they seem like they kill so many of the Imperial soldiers.
Yeah.
And they just come out of nowhere. I'm like, where did these guys come out of the ship? Where did they come from?
Yeah.
Where did all this new stuff come from? They don't like show them taking off from the ship at all.
No. Yeah, and so I feel like also then you could just have more ground to cover for more varied like locations for fighting, instead of it just being in the same 3, as you said, points of interest. It's so bland. I don't know. I don't know why it isn't a bigger village. I feel like that would make more logical sense. But.
Yeah, just more defined things, because there's just a lot and there's a lot of slow motion shots of people just fighting each other. And it's just goopy laser blasts flying past people, and nothing really is happening. And you have like little character moments, but again, we don't care about any of these people. I think the only like really like stakes of like it is when they're fighting to like protect the women and children.
Yeah, but I don't know, because that's where you have Nemesis, right? And Nemesis, like, her fight scene with the lightsabers is not very good. It's slow-mo once again. She has these cool weapons. I have no doubt that the actress probably can do these cool moves and anything and everything. Because you get glimpses of that, but it is just, I don't know. It's like, it looks like kind of the worst, like Star Wars, like Ahsoka, like fight
I was gonna say
scenes,
a lot of the action feels like Disney Plus Star Wars.
Yeah, just like very lazy, not very well thought out or entertaining.
Like adequate.
Yeah,
it's like adequate. It's not horrible. It's passable.
Yeah,
but dude, Zack Snyder, this is your passion project.
Yeah.
The Nemesis fight, there's at least one shot where it's like her blades are not even close to like touching the person, and it kills them.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Where there's like a shot where it's like, like the illusion of like the punch is like you always do the punch like so it's covered by the camera, right? So it looks like you're making impact even though you're not. Where it's like that. They try to do that with this slice, and it's like it just
doesn't work.
Too far away.
They like I'm pretty sure that they like CG in some goop or whatever to spill.
They
out.
do. It's like that did not make contact. That wasn't close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have people sacrificing themselves with grenades and all that, all those things that you see in everything else.
I liked when the main villager guys would die, because I was like, it was like a big moment in the movie, and I'm like, who cares?
You have the scene where they jump on the enemy ship and then they get beaten up and they fall out of the enemy ship.
Yeah, that was the main guy I was thinking of.
Yeah.
It's just whatever. Admiral Noble. Okay, so he the fight
what a
starts,
jawline Ed Skrein
has.
What incredible
jawline.
Best character of the movie, Ed Skrein's jawline. and that one guy's abs.
Yeah. But no, the fighting kind of starts and he like jumps into this trench and is just mowing down people.
Oh, yeah.
These people that have guns that could just shoot him.
Or just grenade blow him up.
Yeah. And he's just wandering through, taking them all out.
Really easily.
And it's just funny because he goes through that like one trench and then he just gets back on his ship to go back to the main dreadnought or whatever.
And he's like, oh, I guess we have the Scargiver, which is what I call it. And now I don't care about the grain anymore. And they're like, oh, but our men are down there. You know, like this thing that they did in Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. Or is that that's in the deleted scenes of Return of the Jedi, right? Where they're like fire on Endor.
I just think of Endgame. Rain fire, what Thanos says at the end of Endgame. It's like a meme.
Okay.
But sire our troops.
Okay. Well, it's a return. It was in like Return of the Jedi. It might be like deleted scenes. They're like, our own troops are down there. It's like, well, just a fewer mouths to feed. Am I right, boys?
It's just a bad man.
Watch out. There's that other commander guy in the ship that just does nothing. Yeah. He's like, I'm taking over.
What happens to him? Does he die?
I was like, I'm guessing he just blows up with the dreadnought. Yeah, also, probably. The dreadnought doesn't even really blow up. It just lands. I'm like, that's anticlimactic. Shouldn't it be like a meteorite?
My dad really one of my dad's favorite things to mention to me about this was how they aim the cannon with like rolling this like dial thing. And it just does not, it's so slow and like doesn't make any sense as to how it works.
They're like, we shouldn't have let IBM design this dreadnought. Like the laptops from they're just using, you know, like that one button between like the G, H, and B key or whatever that they would have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're
That's what they're aiming with.
It really is kind of like that.
Oh, that thing is awful.
Yeah.
Why did they invent that? Horrible.
Yeah. I never really used it, but
horrible. Is that a thing still?
I don't think so.
Lenovo. I feel like Lenovo laptops held on to that for a while.
That could be.
Weird
nub
mouse thing in keyboard. IBM
weird
Lenovo
mouse thing.
A pointing stick. Track point?
Track points?
Is this what?
That's probably
I need a picture.
Oh yeah, there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh yeah. That red nub. GH and B key. I don't know what's going on.
Going
here.
back a bit in the movie, I'm really glad that Korra's ship just worked without any issues.
I'm glad it did too.
When they found it
still works.
Yeah, wow. And
let me just fly under a waterfall. Also, how can you tell where the water isn't? And how did they know that was there? Like, did people climb? I mean, like, oh, it's our home planet, our home moon.
I don't know. Who cares? Let's see. What else do I have?
Better give myself a bad haircut.
I wrote down the quote. Admiral Noble, a scar from the Scargiver herself. Like, man is trying to really make.
He's really trying to work on the Scargiver. He's trying to get it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So right before the fight starts. Why would Korra believe a single thing Noble says?
No, I don't.
Like, he's like, yeah, if you come with me, you know, we'll just take the grain and the people will live. And then she's just suddenly like, oh yeah, okay, I'll go do that.
Gunnar is like, nah, bro.
Yeah, which, you know, I understand what Gunnar does when he like shoots the bell or whatever. That's fine, but also like she is not upset with him at all for making that rash
She's like,
decision.
why did you do that? And he's like. She's like, why did you do that? And he's like, you know him. He would never have actually done those things.
Okay, maybe I blocked.
Yeah, no, that happened.
All right,
you gotta give. You didn't understand the nuanced writing that is Rebel Moon Part 2. Okay,
Admiral. One note I have here: Admiral Noble getting into the trench. He does a superhero landing.
He does do the superhero landing. It's a nice thud.
It was a nice thud. Good sound design there.
Unbelievable.
I did. Okay. My one concession that I think is kind of smart, even though I think it's stupid on the Imperium's part, is that to get on the ship, they feign damage to the ship, right? I'm like, okay, that's kind of smart. I think it's pretty stupid that the Imperium is not like more aware of or more thorough, I guess, but kind of smart plan.
It's the heat of battle. It works. I liked it. I think that part worked, and then like using the grain as like the protective bargaining chip.
Yeah.
Like General Titus idea, like let's wall everything off basically with grain so they can't just blow up.
I did want to mention though, like when you were when you mentioned that a little bit ago, like there's a certain point where like they're just shooting at the village like indiscriminately, and in my mind I'm like, okay, so this is just happening. Like I guess they just don't care anymore. And then after that is when Admiral Noble is like, "Oh, just fire. I don't care anymore."
Then he knows he's got the Scargiver because apparently he needs her alive and he needs to show her to Regent Balisarius.
Yeah. And then that's when he's
so
like,
again, Holden, you're not understanding the nuance.
No, but like before he says that, before he comes to that like decision, they're still just firing on the grain in the village and everything, just not from the ship. It's like, I don't know. It's still like, and that before then is also I'm pretty sure the first tank at least was deployed too, which is just blowing stuff up too, like big explosions. God, it's so stupid. I love me a good mech. I love me a good mech and things. I do not think the tank mech thing in this had a very cool design, though. It's kind of generic.
The scene where Jimmy actually fights is fun.
Yeah. And then he just leaves. He blows up a tank and then he leaves.
Just flies.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done more.
Deus Ex Jimmy. Or Jimmy Ex Machina, rather.
There we go. Boy, there we go. I'm trying to think, was there anything else I wanted to say that we have not covered? I don't think so. I think I honestly have said everything. I mean, Admiral Noble gets his head cut off. Can't wait to see that in the director's cut.
Yeah, there's a lot of
his
things
head
in
just
this.
Lopped down.
There were a lot of things in this. I'm like, yeah, this was cut for PG-13. There was a lot of times where like a death I could tell was definitely supposed to be bloodier than it was. Yeah, I don't know. It just would be better if it was R-rated. If it was the full movie, I'm sure it would just be better because these movies feel chopped to pieces, really. And apparently, each one has an hour more. Is going to be an hour longer.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of slow motion.
I know. What did I say? I said, why is this kid so obsessed with Nemesis?
Seriously.
Yeah, it's dumb, lame. I have here, I hate this stupid movie. Just a note written down there. I said, so sad, Gunnar dying. Oh no.
That's right, he dies.
Does he die? Oh yeah, he does die.
He does, right?
He got because
she goes, why can't I just have this one thing?
Why can't I have this one thing? When they say I love you to each other, I said F off in my notes. But we didn't talk about the ending where apparently the princess isn't dead.
The princess is alive. Oh my gosh.
Titus knows this Titus knows that for some reason.
Yeah. Why does he know that? The rebellion. The rebellion people just show up.
Yeah. Rebellion Ex Machina. There you go. What the heck?
What?
The Eagles. the Eagles from Lord of the Rings.
Like, where have they been?
Yeah. Why? Okay. I'm pretty sure they say something about it in the first movie, but I cannot imagine there's any good reason why the rebellion was not there, especially if they show up at the end here. Like, why didn't they just help from the start?
Either show up or don't.
Yeah, right? You're too late. Already lost so many people.
Gunnar has already died.
Gunnar's already dead. Didn't someone else die? Didn't one of the other main people die? Or did Nemesis die?
Nemesis died.
Okay. Did she?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's those two that died.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah, because I remember the kid being sad.
The kid who likes her for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, can't wait for part 3 that's never going to happen.
It's going to happen, Holden.
This
has a bajillion streams.
I don't know. I just like...
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Here's the thing. I understand.
We got to get to Holden. We got to get Planet of the Dead first, and then we'll get
true.
Rebel Moon Part 3.
Did you see there was something about that? Like, I did not read the article, but like in an interview that like Zack Snyder said that Jimmy is somehow connected to Army of the Dead or something. I hope so. I don't know exactly what the quote was, so I could just could be headline bait, but no,
so.
it's I understand there's a lot of people that is a very non-vocal majority on the internet that just watch stuff on Netflix, and that's fine, but I do not know anyone. Like, I have not seen anything about this
Maybe
movie.
people are just hitting repeat or
Maybe.
something.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll do well enough. And, maybe with the R-rated cuts that combined will justify a third one. But I don't want any more. This is, I said it at the beginning, just one of the worst I know there are worse, like, straight to DVD, zero budget movies out there. That's whatever. But this has to be one of the worst, like, big budget movies I've ever seen, just in general.
I don't know.
I think Suicide Squad is my least favorite movie of all time, but I am tempted to say this is worse than that movie. Okay. Even though I dislike that. I have a very, like, deep hatred of that movie, which is why I say it's my least favorite. But this is bad. This is bad. So,
boy, I
mostly
really
it's just
didn't like
boring.
Halloween Ends.
I think I like this less than Halloween Ends.
Okay, wow.
Halloween Ends at least had some entertaining. It at least was, like, kind of funny bad in some moments. This movie was so boring, and it was so bad too.
Is this worse? Is this movie worse than Amsterdam? See, I wouldn't say
that movie was really boring.
That movie was so boring.
It did have Taylor Swift getting run over by
That's
a car.
the only redeeming part. That is kind of a Trump
funny.
card. That might save it.
It's tough. I don't know. This is bad. This is really bad. I cannot, I understand Zack Snyder has a, following. I cannot fathom anyone defending this movie. I can understand to a certain degree almost every other movie he's made. I think this is his worst movie though, out of everything I've seen. I haven't seen Sucker Punch. I know people don't like Sucker Punch.
I would agree. I think this is, I've seen 300, Batman v Superman, Justice League, and this, I think, right? What else? I haven't seen Watchmen.
I've seen all of his DC stuff, including Watchmen. I've seen Dawn of the Dead. I've seen his owl movie.
Yeah, the Guardians of
Ga'Hoole.
Ga'Hoole. Almost a Godolphin.
We've seen Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
No, this is worse than all those.
Yeah, I think this is. I can't imagine.
Which is a shame, right?
Yeah.
Too bad. Why is he uncredited for is he a producer?
He's probably producer on the other DC movies or executive producer or something.
Yeah. Well, it's only up from here, Zach.
I would really be interested to see the streaming numbers on this, but we never get those in any reliable way. So,
he looks pretty good for 58 years old, though.
Yeah. Nice guy. Seems like a very nice guy. Glad he's making the movies he wants. Glad there are some people out there that enjoy them. But I think this is horrible.
Just don't get him talking about Batman
and his thoughts on superheroes. Batman should kill people or whatever.
Yeah. There we go. That's Rebel Moon. Anything else?
1 out of 10. 1 out of easy. One of the easiest. This has to be one of the easiest 1 out of 10s I've ever done. This has to be one of the worst movies we've seen on this podcast, I think. Cats is worse, I think.
Oh, yeah.
We saw
Cats is bad.
We saw Cats.
Okay, what's the budget of Cats? Budget of Cats movie. That one is $80 to $100 million. All right. Would we even get the budget of Rebel?
It's 166 million total.
For total. So,
that's what Wikipedia says. I had it
shared with 160. So that's like relatively the same. Maybe less.
Yeah.
So then Cats is a worse big budget movie.
Yeah, Cats is probably worse. Although Cats is kind of funny.
No, Cats is worse, Holden.
No, I'll say Cats is worse.
Thank you.
Madam Web is better, though. I have officially settled on that. I would much rather see Madam Web again than this. Oh my gosh. Madam Web is hilarious. This is not. I do want to. I'll just finish. I saw my dad texting me something about Rebel Moon again. It's probably nothing I'll necessarily. What did he say? I was describing to my youngest brother the ridiculous aiming of the Dreadnought's main gun, which I had mentioned, and he suggested that the scene probably would have been better if Zack Snyder had done those scenes in slow motion. That's true. But no, what I did want to mention was last night at 10:45. He started this movie at like around the time I did, 2 p.m. He said 20 minutes left. I will finish this movie.
There's a lot of ... It's in slow motion. Ironically, the text itself.
I bet that, that was intentional on his part. Scott Sutter, master of
the layers
comedy.
of humor there. Nicely done, Scott Sutter, ruiner of the podcast.
Yeah. Horrible. Bad movie. I think that's it.
That's all? All right.